said age didn't matter. You were gonna have oral sex. You were gonna give him oral sex. You told him straight up that you knew he was 13.
This is Timothy Lawrence Kyne. He used the alias Tim46107 to initiate a series of online conversations with 13-year-old John. What he didn't know is that John was a decoy from the vigilante organization known as Perverted Justice. In this video, we will highlight everything that led up to the arrest and prosecution of Timothy Kyne. It goes without saying that at 42 years old, Timothy Lawrence Kyne should not have been expressing interest in a relationship with a 13-year-old. He met John on a dating site called gay.com, and the two began chatting. During the course of the conversation, Timothy Kyne expressed a desire to meet John, not just for a casual encounter, but for something much more suggestive. As you are about to see, he emphasized on multiple occasions that he was attracted to males regardless of their age. He always emphasized discretion, not wanting the boy's family to discover their plans. Kyne also proceeded to ask explicit questions about the boy's sexual experiences and preferences. In time, he crossed state lines from Ohio to Kentucky to meet up with John. Fortunately, the police were right there waiting to apprehend him. Kyne was apprehended by the Kentucky Bureau of Investigation.
Why did you come to Highland Heights tonight? Can you tell me?
I was going to meet this guy, and just, we were going to watch the movies and stuff. We just met online. I was actually going to be in the area anyways, and
During interrogations by Agent Catherine Reed and a male investigator, Kyne maintained he believed the boy was 18. Kyne also claimed their meeting was intended for watching a movie. You can already tell that Timothy Kyne had a plan. He had quickly concocted a story in his head with the belief that sticking to it would get him out of his current fix. This is a classic move for people in his situation, but he will soon realize that he is wrong. There is plenty of evidence mounted against him. Even his lies cannot get him out of this one. In the meantime, he did what he could. Despite persistent questioning by Reed and the investigator, Kyne denied any sexual intentions, insisting he was unaware of the boy's true age, despite evidence suggesting otherwise.
Who was that person?
John, I can't remember his last name.
How old was he?
18, I think. I really don't know.
18. Okay. How'd you meet him?
Online.
Do you chat online?
Yeah.
Quite frequently?
It is even laughable how calmly he tries to justify himself. Crossing state lines to meet up with an 18-year-old kind of implies that you just might do the same for a 17-year-old or younger.
I have some chat logs where you all talked back and forth, and I think that person told you they were 13 in the chat log.
I wouldn't meet somebody 13 years old.
No? So
that's too, that's too young.
Yeah.
This, of course, was very far from the truth. The chat logs have since been available for public consumption, and a quick look at it will prove that Timothy Kyne was lying. Not only did John tell Kyne that he was 13, it was also one of the very first things he said to him. Even when Tim says that 13 is too young, and that he would not have that kind of relationship with a 13-year-old, it is clear that he was lying. According to the chat log, his messages prove without a doubt that he really did not care. In his own words, "I don't care about age. It's the guy I'm interested in."
I've read a little bit of the chat that you had, and there were some underlying issues of maybe homosexuality. Was that maybe the reason for your contact with John?
Could be, but if he's,
and
if,
don't
the
take
age,
my...
if that's what you said, that's, that would never happen.
Mm-hmm. So, but you were interested in him because he was or a man?
Personality and so forth.
Personality.
Friends.
One thing that was pretty hard to miss is how Timothy Kyne made sure to keep his answers as short and vague as possible. This is a classic sign that the person being interrogated does not want to speak too much or overshare. When they overshare, there is an increased possibility that they will lose track of their lies in the moment. There is no doubt that Timothy already knows he's in trouble. His only strategy, as evident from the beginning of this investigation, is to try and steer the detectives away from the truth. He knows that he has to convince them that he was there for a different purpose. Unfortunately for him, the cops believe they have everything they need to get him. In attempts to elicit a confession, the male investigator made use of deception, which is permissible in interrogations. He urged Timothy Kyne to acknowledge his intentions and to admit his purpose of meeting the child for sexual reasons. At some point, investigator Reed highlights a couple of chat excerpts that suggest Timothy's awareness of the boy's age, one in particular being questions about the Easter Bunny. Growing exasperated, the male investigator accuses Timothy of traveling to the Sting house with the intent to harm a child. He also branded Kyne a pedophile due to the explicit content in his chat logs. At some point, the cops were bound to get tired and annoyed by the back and forth. When this happens, they will likely increase the intensity of the interrogation. They begin by repeating the same questions over and over. As intended, Timothy Kyne starts to get visually uncomfortable. This in turn makes the detectives double down in hopes that he may crack.
Whenever you talked to John, you told him straight up that you knew he was 13. I can't tell you how many times in this chat log that you tell him that you know he's 13. You talk about spring break. You ask him when his mom's leaving. You planned on coming to stay. Hold on, I've listened to you, okay? I'm gonna lay it out for you because here it is. You were coming to stay all weekend, not just a day. You told him you were coming all weekend. You were gonna have oral, you were gonna give him oral. You asked him the first time that he if he'd been caught by his mother. And whenever he asked you how old you were when you started, you said 13 or 14, and he said I was the same age, and you said that you understood. So don't tell me that you don't know that he was 13, and that wasn't your intention to come here and have with a 13-year-old.
No, that was not my intentions.
It was absolutely your intention, Tim. Don't fill me full of crap. I'm done with that game. That game is over. Now, do we want to talk about what your intentions were here? Because I'm beginning to think you're
not a.
Although the confession did not come, the truth was clear for all to see. Timothy Kyne saw a minor and decided to sink his teeth in. He constantly told John that he liked him, wanted to date him, and would do anything for him. When these two were not talking about cuddling, they would be talking about making out, masturbation, and oral. Tim also lied about his age. He claimed to be younger than he was just so that John would ease into the idea of him. This, of course, does not include the countless other creepy things that Timothy Kyne said to John. In court, it's conceivable that a seasoned legal team could argue that Tim overlooked John's age or completely missed it initially. However, many of his messages suggest that he was fully aware that John was underage. Some messages even suggest that this was his main focus or point of interest in John.
Then I knew, and then I just didn't realize it. Because when I looked on the website, it had a date, like 1974, something like that. So that's the connection that I thought. Okay.
You've already told me that everybody lies online. Why would you think that that's correct?
Until you meet somebody and go.
Until you chatted with him and he told you he was 13 years old.
I made a mistake.
And you said that was great. That was fine. You did not have a problem with the age difference.
Over time, you will see that Timothy's demeanor changes. It would shift from a relaxed, open posture to a more rigid and upright stance. He has also crossed his arms in front of him and raised his shoulders. These are all clear indicators of someone feeling highly uncomfortable. Additionally, Timothy opts to remove his jacket. This presents a high level of discomfort and a subconscious desire to reset the entire interaction. Lastly, his legs are crossed and his feet are constantly moving around. This suggests a significant level of anxiety and a subconscious urge to exit the interaction altogether. After nearly an hour of interrogation, the police determine that they're not making any current progress. At this point, they step out temporarily. This gives them a chance to reassess their performance and strategize their next move. It also means that the suspect would be left alone. In an ideal situation, this makes them more anxious and more likely to slip up under subsequent pressure.
Report you down to the jail as soon as we get the paperwork done.
Can I make a phone call?
They'll take care of that at the jail.
After an hour of waiting, the detectives finally return. The detectives had come in guns blazing. They came back with specific receipts and references to counter every lie he tried to come up with.
I would not have had with a child. I'm sorry.
Tim, you talked to him about the Easter bunny and Easter basket.
God, everybody, I got an Easter basket.
You asked him if he still believed in the Easter bunny. Don't tell me you thought he was 18
I did
years
not ask
old.
somebody if they...
You absolutely asked him.
No. Do you still believe in Easter bunny?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. And it's in black and white.
Even when the detective threatens him, Timothy Kyne was determined to stick to his story. When told that no judge or jury would believe his story, Timothy maintains his innocence and insists that he would rather go all the way to prove his innocence than admit any form of guilt.
Any judge is going to see that. Any jury is going to see that, and they're going to say, this guy is absolutely a
Well,
he
then I
needs
guess
to
it's
be
going to have to go that
locked
far.
away.
You know, it's going to have to go that far then.
Next, the detective hands him 2 documents, one of which contains John's profile. The detective asks Timothy at what point he believes that this is not a minor. As you can imagine, Timothy Kyne is short of words. Even when the detective reminded him that John could not have driven down to see him because he had no license or car, Timothy maintained that he simply did not put 2 and 2 together.
So is this the profile you saw for John?
Yeah.
And can you show me where on here you thought that he was 18?
I can't.
Because it's not there and it never was.
Here it says
Yeah.
73.
Yeah, but then on his
Yeah.
Yahoo.
See,
it says he's 13.
overlooked that
Which you also went there.
location. You know, because I
You
still
didn't
would
make
not.
a mistake. You
I
knew.
still would not have went for somebody because they're underage. I'm looking. You know, 18 would have been fine.
He didn't have
But
a
I
car.
made a mistake.
He didn't have a car. He didn't have a driver's license. He couldn't meet you somewhere because he was
Well,
13
I didn't
years
put
old.
2 and 2 together
you
that he
knew
was
that.
13 years old. I did not know that. I did not. I mean, I did not know that.
He really seemed to think that claiming he made a mistake would get him out of trouble. He was proven wrong. Despite Tim not confessing, the detectives knew they had everything they needed to bring him to justice. Following his apprehension, Timothy Kyne was charged with a felony count of interstate travel to engage with a minor. He was detained on a $100,000 bond. He was later prosecuted and found guilty of a federal felony charge of interstate travel to engage in sexual assault of a minor. He was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison for crossing state borders, 10 years of supervised release, and a mandatory registration as a sex offender for life.